I came back from dinner and wrote the Hedwig theme, dum ba dum bum bim bum bum, that, and sent it to them. And the producer called back and he said, "That's it. That's the theme from our film."
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Mugwump Tower, this is Albatross 1-3, requesting permission to land. Over.
I don't need a computer to tell me how to land a damn airplane.
6.
Heads-up display, check.
5,
Lasers, check.
4,
Particle beam, check.
3,
Proton bolts, check.
2,
Chair control, check.
1.
Let's do it.
Broadcasting from a secret underground location somewhere in Mos Eisley. This is the Docking Bay 77 podcast. Make yourself comfortable. The show is about to start.
Hello and welcome to Docking Bay 77. I'm Amber Lewis and I will be taking over hosting duties for this episode, giving our fearless leader Dayton Johnson a little break. Joining me to discuss our top 7 John Williams scores, which I'm sure will involve connections to Broadway, Disney, Stephen Sondheim, and possibly, if we're lucky, Kate Bush. It's my partner in crime, Robert Burnett. Welcome, Robert.
I actually could finesse that if I really worked. It would be like a 6 degrees, but we will leave Kate Bush out of this one this time.
Okay.
She's had her moment, but anyway, looking forward to responding to your baton tonight.
All right. And we also have a special guest with us tonight. Robert, why don't you go ahead and introduce us?
Well, this is my dear friend from many years ago, also a Disney Store Ohana member, David Milano. And David, why don't you share with us or with the listeners what it is you'd like them to know about you?
Well, first of all, happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me on. Excited to talk about John Williams' music. I've known Robert for, gosh, what were we saying? Like over 25 years now at this point.
Yeah.
It was quite
we
a
were
while
saying
ago.
that off mic, though. Thank you so much. But,
Oh, sorry. And we bonded over Disney, obviously, and Twin Peaks, and Wizard of Oz, and geeky fun stuff like that. And
Well, welcome. Do you have any Robert stories for us?
I was trying to think of do I have any funny Robert stories, or do I have any simply scandalous Robert stories? And I can't think of any. I mean, this is gonna sound like maybe just super too nice, but it's like Robert's such a great guy and
Right?
so sweet. And my memories of working with Robert were just that his kindness and generosity rubbed off on me. I think, has made me a better person. Whenever I've tried to be or had been in a leadership position or team position, I always have a little voice of Robert in the back of my head, encouraging how to treat other people. And, it's just his example. He's just a great guy.
I
Oh, stop.
100%
stop.
agree. My favorite thing working with him was watching him do effortless magic for our guests and for our cast members. It was always just a treat when we were on the schedule together. So,
And see, David, I thought sure you were gonna drag out one of the mini Moonlight Madness events where we were tied together at Disneyland after dark, running around solving puzzles. And
we don't talk about Minnie's Moonlight Madness.
But we've got pictures. I'll send some to Dayton and see if he can drop them along with the episode.
yes.
And-
All righty.
No, the best memory I have was probably Twin Peaks had just started airing on Bravo during the time we were working together, and our cable went out, so I couldn't keep watching it. And Robert generously brought in the VHS box set. I was just like, here,
Yes.
go home and watch this.
That's awesome.
Well, it was rough. He was coming to it as a newbie, and I was
Oh, you
wondering-
hadn't seen it before.
No.
Oh,
My
yeah.
parents were squares, and so they had control of the TV when it was on. I wasn't going to be able to watch this super creepy and weird out there show. So I didn't catch it until whatever it was, 99, I think that it was
Yeah.
on, or 2000. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny because I was obsessed with it when it was on and just dragged my whole family along with me.
Likewise. Well, yeah, but like I said, it was rough because like I didn't want to like spoil stuff because I was like,
Right?
what episode are you on? What I can't, you know, it was
Can't talk
maddening.
to you yet because this thing hasn't happened. Yeah,
The owls were still what they seemed. Anyway,
exactly.
All right, boys. Well, moving right along, let's get into tonight's topic. It sounds too amazing to be true, but pretty much everyone from the age of 65 and under can say that to some extent, John Williams has composed the soundtrack to their lives. His music has transported us from Isla Nublar to a galaxy far, far away, and has given theme music to characters as heroic as Superman and as villainous as Darth Vader. With 54 Oscar nominations, he's the second most nominated person in Academy Awards history. Robert, do you know who is the most nominated?
would that be Walt Disney?
It was. Do you know how many?
A lot. I've lost count.
59.
Nice. Edith Head was close though. I think she's
Yes.
definitely the top woman for sure.
John Williams has also won 5 Academy Awards, 3 Emmys, 4 Golden Globes, and 26 Grammys. With such a diverse catalog to choose from, we felt safe in creating our list of top 7 John Williams scores. The only criteria we agreed upon was that we stay away from major themes so that we didn't have 3 lists, all including the main thing from Jaws. Dayton's mandate was dig deep, be creative, and look at how the piece impacts the scene it's in. So you're not going to hear the Superman soundtrack is my number 1. You're going to hear a piece. And if you're me, it's like a piece of a piece. So let's start off with how did everybody build their list? David, how did you start building your list? Did you know right away certain pieces?
I did. Going back through the catalog, there were obviously ones that stood out from childhood. There were ones that stood out as like some of the most memorable scenes. But then before I finished compiling the list, I listened to some of the scores that I was less familiar with. And what I found is that, I mean, he's the GOAT, right? Like everything is great. But at the same time, I was looking at it from a standpoint of like, what tracks can I listen to either isolated as their own piece of music, or is something that draws me back that I want to keep re-listening to that piece. And what I found is that the scores for movies that were more fantastical, the ones that were, fantasy or sci-fi, those tended to have more pieces of music that stood out to me as something that I can keep hitting that theme over and over again and enjoying it than some of the more modern scores. Like I like Munich. I'm not necessarily listening to that soundtrack over and over again, as an example. So that was kind of where I went from, is looking for like things that I would actually listen to over and over again.
Awesome. I did almost the exact same thing. Robert, how about you?
Similar, and I'm to piggyback on what David said. I think he is kind of unique in that because he scored so many series like the Harry Potters and Star Wars and so on, he doesn't just get 2 hours to play with. And so it does make those themes just iconic, and it lets him develop and kind of spiral off into different characters and different directions to give us, a richer body of work than somebody who's just doing one 90-minute film at a time that are unrelated. I did. It was a hard list for me to make too. It's hard to overstate his importance to film music. He did kind of is there. So many of his scores, people know, the Jaws theme. They know the 5 notes from Close Encounters. They know all this stuff, even if they haven't seen the movie. They don't know what it's from. They couldn't name John Williams. His music is just part of everybody's life. So it was a tough call, but what I wanted to try and do, as I always like to, was kind of show a little bit of his longevity and his range. Because we could do an entire night of cuts from the Star Wars series, and that would be 21 different pieces maybe. But I wanted to kind of jiggle around a little bit and dig into some corners and also things that for me resonated with me for different reasons through my long life.
Yeah, I spent weeks just very enjoyfully as I was working, listening to all these different soundtracks and, different compositions that he made. And just, it was delightful. Um, but there were three on my list that, like, I immediately, well, these three are on it. So now I have seven spots left. And that was torturous. I messaged you guys last night and was like, and I just changed my list again. um, I have rearranged them. Things went on, things went off. These lists are always torturous for me. I hate having to narrow it down. It's a challenge. But the biggest criteria for me was that the merger between the audio and the visual, I think is something that he does like no one else. And I think that's why it's neat to see him going back to working with George Lucas and working with Steven Spielberg, and because they just give you like this masterclass in visual composition as well as musical composition. So that was kind of how I narrowed it down.
Interesting. It's funny because on my list I have a couple things that do not necessarily have visuals with them, so or don't relate to a visual. So that's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out.
Yeah.
The fact that my list isn't just oops all Star Wars, I mean,
right?
It was really hard to put together. Yeah.
I tripped and it was all Star Wars. I'd be interested to see if we overlap at all with such a huge filmography, but I've been surprised before. So, all right, let's get to it. We'll let David go first since he's our special guest, and then Robert and myself. So, David, you're number 7. Off you go.
All right. So for my number 7, I picked a track from Jurassic Park, or the Lost World Jurassic Park, which is the follow-up to Jurassic Park, and specifically Rescuing Sarah. And that's the scene in the film, if you recall, where the 2 T-Rexes come out of the jungle and they're attacking. They've like shoved the trailer over the side of the cliff, and there's the rescue to try to get down into the trailer before it goes off the cliff to like get everybody out. And the reason I picked it is it's one of my favorite action pieces that he's done. Like it's this big action scene. It's really dynamic, really a lot of percussion going on. It reminds me of a similar piece of music from the first film, the Dennis steals the embryo scene, which Dennis Nedry gets the embryo, heads out, gets attacked by the Dilophosaur. Musically, they and also I think around the same part of the film, in terms of like where they hit, they're very similar, but there's something much more brutal and primal about the track Rescuing Sarah. I think that's appropriate for the themes of the Lost World, and that it builds to a crescendo at the end. Like once they actually rescue everyone, you see the trailers like fall away and explode as it hits the cliffs. So yeah, that's my number 7.
I'll have to go back and watch that movie again. That's one of the great things about these lists is you're like, okay, and now I have to go listen to this, or now I have to go watch it again. Because what I make a connection to is the Lego Jurassic Park game, and that section is a particular pain in the ass. So I couldn't tell you what the music was because I'm too busy trying not to get squashed. So yeah, that's definitely on my list to go back and revisit.
I just want to see the little itty bitty Lego instruments they play it on.
Right?
Yeah, anyway, yeah.
So Robert, you're number 7.
My number 7, I am going to travel way back in time, pun partly intended, as you'll learn. Williams started by doing TV scores and background music for TV shows like Gidget and Gilligan's Island. I mean, we all think of him as like, the Schindler's List guy and Munich and all that. And it's like, no, Gidget and Moondog, he was surfing, and there he was, figuring out what bongo to use to back underscore them. But the one that I remember vividly, I was a kid in the 60s, and it was a great age for science fiction and fantasy TV. We had all the magical ladies like Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie, but we also had Lost in Space and Land of the Giants and Star Trek and all that stuff going on. But my particular favorite, and part of it was the really awesome score, was the show Time Tunnel. It is not super well remembered. It only ran 2 seasons, and it's pretty damn corny. It was an Irwin Allen production, so you know what you're getting
Oh my
already.
gosh.
Right,
Yes.
right. And the mantra was it was show it done on the cheap so much that they didn't have to build sets, because they had like one set that was like the time tunnel set, on the back lot at Universal, and they would the two fellas would travel through time. They'd fall into the time tunnel and they'd travel, and then each week they would travel somewhere else in time. And Lee Meriwether and the other scientists were trying to like bring them back, and then the series ended and they never came back, and we don't know what's going to
It's
happen.
like Quantum Leap.
Yeah, only 2 seasons, but they would dig through the archives of the studio and say, okay, like they did a Titanic movie. Okay, we'll do a Titanic episode. And then they would basically like have our fellows like against more or less a bare wall, or maybe like something painted white with a life preserver, and like do their scenes. And then they would like show shots from the different old pictures that the studio had done. Yeah, and there's so it was absolute crap, but it is delightful. I have the 2D DVD set. And
I was going to say, I'm going to have to borrow it.
You will. It is so good, and it's just so much fun. And but he was still Johnny Williams back then. I guess it was hipper to be Johnny Williams because it was the 60s, and not John.
Right.
Whereas Stephen calls him Sir John Williams, even though I explain he's an American and not been knighted. Yeah. But anyway, the time tunnel theme is like 35 seconds long, as the TV theme songs were, and it is just fantastic hint of what you're going to get in his later career, because it's like all percussion and all brass. So it's like boom, 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 and like trumpet sounds, and then meanwhile the whole time there's this little like metronome tick-tock sound in the background, and it is like so great. So like every time I would hear that sound, the sound of score starting, I would like race into our living room and be like glued to the set because it was such a great show. So title theme from Time Tunnel is my number one, or my number 7, I should say.
Oh my gosh, that is awesome. Well, my number 7 is not that inventive. We're going back to Jurassic Park, the first film.
What's not one of the titles of one of the sequels, Back to Jurassic Park?
Probably. If not, it soon will be.
Yeah.
But this is the track Journey to the Island, and specifically from 1 minute 20 to 6 minutes 20. You spend the first 30 minutes of this movie watching a man get eaten, and then hearing about how dangerous the park is, and they have to go and investigate because they want to shut it down. And then you get on the helicopter, and Hammond is taking our heroes to the park, and he unleashes this huckster showmanship to sell them on, this exciting thing that he's created. And you get our first glimpse of Isla Nublar with the music swells, and you forget all about the guy that just got his arm ripped off, and you just get swept up in the excitement of going to the island and your first look at a dinosaur. And this piece sells that as much as anything else, and it is as essential to the story as the lack of music to the T-Rex attack later on.
Something that I'm sure is going to come up in all of our lists as we go through this is and what your choice reminded me of this is just, I think Williams, almost more than anybody, is his capacity for communicating the sense of wonder.
Yes.
At like something that is like completely fantastical is happening, and this is the feeling that would experiencing that you would have, right? And he communicates that musically, and that scene is a prime example of that.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree. And he also introduces things, I think, really well. He and Steven Spielberg together have a great, affinity for, like, ta-da, here it is.
Totally.
All right, moving right along. Number 6, David.
All right, so for number 6, I'm going to take us back to the year 1984 and the theme for the Los Angeles Summer Olympics.
Oh, awesome.
So this was my first memory of the Olympics. Came to our hometown. And so the track is Olympic fanfare and theme. And so it's got this beginning that is a piece of Bugler's Dream by Leo Arnaud, and then it goes into Williams' theme, right? And I mean, this is the music that plays in my head when I think of the Olympics, right? Thank
Yes,
you, NBC.
absolutely.
Exactly. It's like right up there with Bob Costas's voice, right? It's like this is how I think of the Olympics. But it's got all of the pageantry and the theatricality of the Olympics, but it's also got all of the hope and the yearning and the struggle, and it communicates all of those feelings. And yeah, because it gets drilled into your head every time they go to commercial. It lives rent free.
Oh, I'm so glad you chose that. I absolutely love that piece of music. And yes, it is like now that is the Olympics.
And he wrote other themes for other Olympics through the years, but honestly, that first one is like it does everything you need.
Yep.
You know.
Yep, I wholeheartedly agree. And we're gonna hear so much of it coming up in LA in just a few years. Oh my goodness. Yep. All righty, Robert, what do you got for us for number 6?
Well, our first duplicate, it's actually my number 5, but I'm sliding it over here. Even before I knew David's list, I knew that the Olympic fanfare and theme from '84 was going to be on my list. Like David, I was living in Southern California at the time. It's not the first Olympics I remember, but it is the first Olympics I got to attend. I went to the archery competition and a couple things, and one of my best friend's mom got to run part of the torch, so that was like a moment,
Gosh, yes.
Yeah, and so it just very, I mean, not only is it an incredibly exciting, thrilling piece of music in its own right, and even without, because Williams has his own fanfare too. The one the other fellow wrote does get used sometimes, but Williams actually starts with an Olympic fanfare, and then there's the main theme with all the brass. But yeah, it just so emotional for me about that. Every time I hear it, even if it's like in the next room on the TV or on the radio, I'm like, I'm just remembering how exciting it was to have the Olympics in Los Angeles and how exciting it was to I don't know, just so much going on. We had the Olympic Arts Festival that year in Los Angeles where artists from around the world came and put on shows. It was just such a great showcase for Los Angeles and for that time. I don't know, David, if you mentioned, but yeah, the piece won a Grammy. There's going to be a lot of awards tonight. It did win a Grammy for Best Instrumental Composition that year. And ABC does still, and the different networks do still use it every year almost, even though I think he's written 3 more Olympic themes after that. And they're like, nice try. But we're using the good one.
Yeah, there's some like united agreement that this is the sound of the Olympics and this is what we're using. And
since we want to squeeze in a little Disney into this episode, I can through this very obliquely. I can make it work. In 1984, there was a whole color palette and theme like there is every year for the Olympic with the uniforms of the American athletes and the signage in Los Angeles, and everything was all done in this particular font and color scheme and all this. It was like branding, because that's what Los Angeles does too. But if you were at Walt Disney World not very many years afterward, I think they debuted in '86, those green and purple and red directional signs that are all over the property that tell you which way to get to your hotel or to your park or whatever. Where Disney hired the same creative team that put together the Olympic signage and said, we want that signage exactly the same, but make it a little different. So like they tweaked it a little. But my first visit to Disney World in the 80s, I was like, these signs are so familiar, but they hadn't really deeply registered. And then years later, I saw a thing and it said that Disney hired whoever the Olympic sign guys were. So great signs and great music in '84.
I'm so glad you brought that up. So I was thinking about this and I remember having this, I don't know how or why we got this, but I remember having this book that had all of the iconography for like the different events. And it was like all the symbols for like archery or swimming or whatever, right? And it was very hyper stylized. And I just remember as a really little kid, like just poring over those graphics and just being obsessed with like how minimal they were, but how much they still communicated. And like that visual language, it was like burned into my head as a kid. And it's so funny that you would bring that up.
It was a good Olympics and great music.
All right. Well, now for something completely different. My number 6 is from the film The Terminal. The track is called The Story of Victor Navorsky, and it's the complete track. And The Terminal is just this delightful little movie. It's a little romantic comedy. Um, and Tom Hanks plays the kindest man. And this light, whimsical movie just perfectly fits his personality. And like you're in love with him from the minute you meet him in this movie. You start off feeling empathy for him because he gets stuck in this airport in New York because of, bureaucratic technicalities. He's from another country. But as he starts to figure out, like, what is he going to do to get food? What is he going to do to exchange money? Where is he going to sleep? All these little things. And he starts interacting with the people that work at the airport. This theme plays, and it's just whimsical and delightful. And, to the point that David made earlier, like, this is one that I will listen to, over and over again, just to have something light and fun in the background.
I seen that movie a couple of times, and I just remember, like, it does have a real sweet, charming, just that story, that character.
Yeah, it's interesting that, like, this is a Steven Spielberg movie, but it's not some big, huge, epic thing. It's just
right.
This little whimsical little story that they told, and I just love it. All right, my goodness, we're already like moving right along. Number 5.
Okay, so for my number 5, it's from the prequel trilogy. It's from The Phantom Menace, and it is one of the bigger pieces of music. It's Duel of the Fates. So this is the big fight scene, lightsaber battle at the end of the first of the prequel movies, between Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Darth Maul. And I think, say what you will about the prequels, and I know I certainly have, but there was so much excitement. There was so much enthusiasm. There was a new Star Wars movie coming out, and the Duel of the Fates is just an undeniably solid piece of music.
Well, my God, when that door opens and Darth Maul's standing there and the music comes on and that whole section, like, you can't breathe.
No, exactly. I also have my own personal, like, very nerdy connection to it. Back in the early aughts, I was involved in a theater group that would perform at a local science fiction convention. So we would do, like, entertainment before or after the masquerade, I think. And there was this one year where I had this crazy idea of, let's take the ending of the third film of Revenge of the Sith, where Obi-Wan and Anakin fight. Let's swap all the dialogue for lines of Shakespeare, and let's set a lightsaber battle to Duel of the Fates on stage.
I love this.
My roommate at the time, a friend of mine, Graydon, we put it together, and then we had, the light up lightsabers, and we did this whole sword fight on stage. At one point at the end, like, one of the characters, like, strikes a console that, like, this control panel that's on stage, and then the lights go out, and then all you see are the blades clashing back and forth on stage.
Yes.
So it was a lot of fun.
I was gonna say, please tell me somebody videoed it.
There is video. Unfortunately, there's no video online, and I don't know why. But we all have, like, DVDs that we got burned from the show, so I have a copy somewhere.
You can upload it.
I was gonna say,
I need to rip it, and I need to upload it. But it was a lot of fun, and so that's I have a personal connection to this piece of music because we performed this little scene to it.
Oh, that's awesome!
I'm thinking Dayton could make that Patreon content, and I'm sure he'd give you a little cut of whatever money we make. On that. That would be great.
And I would argue, and the Star Wars fans can come at me on this, but I think Duel of the Fates is a better fight than the Anakin Obi-Wan fight.
Oh, yes.
Like,
I would agree with you.
Like 100%. That's where I'm putting my money on that one. Yeah. Oh, what a great choice. Excellent. All right, Robert, what do you got for number 5?
All righty. Well, you wanted some Broadway, and I have to deliver.
Yes,
So
you never let me down.
No. It's oblique, but I can justify it because this is the film for which Williams got his first Academy Award. Now, granted, it was for Best Scoring Adaptation, but he did write an original composition for it. I'm talking about Fiddler on the
Fiddler
Roof,
on the Roof.
way back in 1971.
See, I didn't choose it because I thought it wouldn't count.
Well, it did count. I had to do some homework because I had to get my Broadway in here somehow.
Right?
And no, so he did the scoring for the film, which is lavish. This is one of the last dinosaurs of the 3-hour epic musical, extravaganza. But he pulling some strings because he was already starting to kind of become John Williams, like we know now, and not Johnny Williams from Gilligan's Island. And he got Isaac Stern to do the violin solos for the fiddler. And when you have Isaac Stern, you don't just give him some, Broadway schmata music to play. You give him something. So Williams wrote like a 3.5, 4-minute violin cadenza that Stern plays over the opening titles. And so it is.
Oh, so that wasn't in the score.
No, it is not. And it's amazing because I miss the old Roadshow Warhorse movies because the movie is over 3 hours long and the opening number is 10 minutes long and we meet the entire village of Anatevka and everybody and it's great. And then they go into the title sequence and the title sequence is like 5 minutes long more, and it is a static shot. I mean, there's movement, but the camera doesn't move or anything. They don't cut away, of a violinist silhouetted on a roof playing music for 5 minutes while the titles crawl by. And it is this gorgeous, stunning violin piece of music that just sets up the mood, sets up the tone, and it just brings you further into this world, even though it's a world we know. It's Earth. It's not another planet this time, but he's established it. And I kind of miss that kind of storytelling where the atmosphere and the mood and the sense of place and environment were all just as important. But it is just fantastic. He did get his Oscar for scoring it. The film won 3. And then the album, the cast album for that film, or the soundtrack, I should say, went platinum. So that was another one of his early accolades because his name was on it. But yeah, just a wonderful little piece of music. And you can find just that snippet if you don't want to commit to the entire harrowing saga of displacement and diaspora and pogroms and all that stuff. Yeah, you can find just the title clip on YouTube and elsewhere to listen to. But really lovely piece of music.
And it's an absolute banger. Like, it's so good. And Isaac Stern is just...
Yeah, and there's a little like interesting because there are little threads, just bare motifs in what Williams wrote of some of the score pieces, but mostly it is all just new, and it sounds like something you would hear a cantor singing or you would hear in a synagogue. It's just lovely and gorgeous music. And like I said, I wish modern day filmmakers sometimes would let us have a breath and let us ease into something and not just. I mean, I love the slam bang, crashing movies too, but it's nice. It was nice to kind of go back into that. And I meant just to only watch that part, and I ended up 3 hours later going, they're leaving Anatevka.
Anatevka.
Spoiler. Anyway, yeah, but anyway.
Well, not to be outdone, I have a personal connection to Fiddler on the Roof because my brother was in it in high school, and it's my favorite high school theater story because he came out in the wedding scene and did the bottle dance and then ran backstage. Like, he had his hair up underneath the hat, ran backstage, pulled his hair down, changed clothes. And then he came out and tore the shit apart because he was one of the guys coming in, one of the Cossacks coming in to destroy the wedding. And that quick change, and now I'm a bad guy. It's my favorite thing.
The magic of theater. And it's funny, I was kind of having flashbacks when I was watching Fiddler, and I was trying to figure out why I was finding it so upsetting. Although anything, these days, not to get political, but, with refugees and oppression and all that, it's but with a catchy tune. But I remember, I loved musicals as a kid, but I was in the camp of Sound of Music and Mary Poppins and all the bubbly spoonful of sugary ones. And my parents took me to go see the movie, to see Fiddler on the Roof. Now, I knew the album. I had listened to the album all the time. Our house was a big, we not only did we have the actual cast albums, but we had the different musical arrangements of them and the jazz versions, by Andre Previn and whatever. But so I'm thinking Fiddler on the Roof. I mean, the album is fun and it's bouncy and it's cute, and all this. And little Bobby sat there and was like, "What the hell?" It's like they're like being thrown out of their home and their belongings are being burned. And I'm just like, this is not my little matchmaker song that I dance around to at home. And it put me off it for a while. I did not expect from the Happy Broadway album to be. I did not know what the story was at that time, and it was a lot for little me to take in.
Poor baby.
I definitely saw that movie way too young because my parents, I think, rented it, and I think it was the dream sequence in particular. Like I remember that movie, that giving me nightmares. For some reason.
Sarah
so
is scary.
Yeah.
That is, well, we're all traumatized by Fiddler on the Roof, I guess. It's
right. It's a rite of passage.
Yes.
All right. Well, equally theatrical, my number 5 is The Dance of the Witches from the film The Witches of Eastwick.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
This is also the complete track. But this section of the movie has our 3 women are having a girls' night. They're knocking back martinis and talking about their ideal man. And they inadvertently use their powers to actually conjure him. And Liam and I love to joke that John Williams never took a day off in his life. And this track is like a prime example. I can just imagine George Miller calling him and saying, "I need some music for my little witch movie." And John's like, "Stand back." And then proceeds to write the witchiest piece of music ever. We always at my parents' house, we were the house in the neighborhood that blared music into the neighborhood. Everything from Thriller to Nightmare Before Christmas. And we always had this on our playlist. It's like a modern Night on Bald Mountain, and I just love it.
Fantastic choice. Yeah.
I think WandaVision would not WandaVision, the Agatha All Along would have to fight you on which is the better witch song, because the one from Agatha was pretty dang good too.
I don't know. It was really good. It would definitely make the playlist for sure.
Oh, there you go. Okay, fair enough.
Okie dokie, number 4.
Okay, so my number 4 is a bit of a cheat because it's not specifically
you fit right in.
It's not specifically from the soundtrack or a specific scene of the movie. So it's E.T. the Extraterrestrial. It's a piece called Adventures on Earth, and it's kind of like the concert suite of E.T. music, right? So it's a little bit of everything from the film, and then it builds to this big giant crescendo. It's the E.T. leaving home, and we're all crying and we're sobbing because E.T.'s leaving us. And specifically, so I've got this, and I'm going to hold this up. You guys can see it. The audience at home can't. But it's the Spielberg-Williams collaboration album. And this has a bunch of different music. The reason I got this actually was because at the time they hadn't released the soundtrack to Temple of Doom. And this was kind of the only way to get some Temple of Doom soundtrack in the US. Anyway, I think that it was released in Japan, but it wasn't in the US. But Adventures on Earth is maybe my favorite track on this album, just because it's everything. It's the whole story of E.T. in, what is it, 9 minutes long, I think? Yeah, 9.5 minutes.
Oh, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we're of perhaps a similar age, and that movie was our whole world back then. I think I saw it 3 times in the theater, and we were poor. We did not have money to go see a movie 3 times, but we saw that one.
Well, and you live and die with E.T. and Elliot. Yeah. You're going through all the same ups and downs and the trauma and E.T. dying, and then he's back, and then you have to say goodbye to him, and it's the whole thing.
Yeah, like it hit at just the right time for my family, and oh my gosh, and the merchandising was everywhere. Like
I
it,
still have my little ET plush from whatever it was, like this little ET. Yeah.
yes. All right, excellent choice. And it is difficult sometimes, particularly on like the Superman soundtrack. He did like a lot of really long blended together pieces. So you can't just have like this section or this section. It's one big long like 9-minute thing and you got to kind of break it up.
Mhm.
And I think ET is kind of similar in that way.
Right.
All righty, Robert, number 4.
All right. Well, if I had any doubt that David was going to fit in with our group, I mean, nerds of a feather. It is the sidebar about the special Spielberg Williams album that was not the Japanese import that you had to get so you could have the
Right.
cut. You're one of us
You're
now.
welcome.
Yeah.
If there was any question, that's the kind of obscure deep dive we live for. But anyway, all right.
Physical media is better than streaming.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Number 4. My number 4 is probably my most well known and most beloved of all of these cuts. But that's how good it is. I couldn't not mention it. Star Wars, the original Star Wars film, the throne room / end title piece of music is such a great piece of music. For one thing, I mean, I just it shows off what Williams could do because he has so much original music. But that fanfare that they have at the beginning of it, which is tremendous, is a flat out ripoff of Felix Mendelssohn from Midsummer Night's Dream. And it doesn't matter because it is still a fabulous fanfare. And it fits because the whole Star Wars thing originally was that it was like a throwback to the old serials with the iris in and out and the different things happening. And so the fact that he kind of took a little rip from a piece of well-known classical music took us right back to like the original soundtrack to Dracula and some of those old 30s films. We're like, it's good enough for Tchaikovsky, it's good enough for us. We'll just use it, And the movie was so, especially for a first view, if there's anybody who hasn't seen it, but so exciting, and his music is so dramatic, and there's so many great themes, and then it is just nice to have this little pause and this fanfare, and then all of a sudden it's joyous and it's happy. That piece of music always just makes me smile. It's like, yay, we did it, and it was successful, and I can breathe now because it's just lovely. And so that was my cut from probably the best note of his pieces, and of course the Star Wars original album went gold and platinum, and of course he got an Oscar and 3 Grammys for his score to the film. But my favorite cut is the throne room and end title.
Awesome. I'm so amazed that you picked a Star Wars. Like,
I've got surprises. I'm just saying.
You are. You contain multitudes, my friend.
Exactly. Me and Walt Whitman this time, not Disney. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, my number 4 is the Catch Me If You Can opening credits and the entire track. We were talking earlier, one of the things that John Williams does so brilliantly is he grabs you from the very first frame of the movie, whether the movie has a cold open or begins with a title and credits sequence. His music has you fully invested right from the get-go. And this opening, with the assistance of brilliantly animated opening credits designed by Florence Degas and Oliver Kunsel, really tells you everything you need to know. You kind of don't need to watch the movie, but then you would miss out on Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks. So, it's a win-win. But the use of xylophones and marimbas and then finger snaps just creates this sense of like mystery and whimsy and 60s, and it just carries on throughout the entire movie. And I will watch like that whole section. I just adore it. And like, when's the last time you heard a marimba?
Well, when I listened to the Gidget soundtrack by John Williams from
Okay, fair. Oh my gosh. All righty. Moving right along. Where are we now? Number 3.
All right, it's getting tough. We're getting to the good stuff here. Okay. For number 3, I went with a piece from Raiders of the Lost Ark, specifically Marion's theme. And
Oh, so
it's a
good.
piece, you can hear it in the movie, in the scene that happens on the ship where she's kissing his chin and she's taking the hat off and she's kissing his forehead, and then they kiss and he falls asleep. And that scene kind of like ends with it sort of playing out as the cut goes to the Ark sitting in the ship's hold, and the swastika gets like burned off on the outside of the crate, right?
Yes.
But it's also used in again, going back to the concert version, the concert suite, in the Raiders March. So, like, the Raiders March starts off with the dun 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 dun, and then like about midway through, we get this nice chunk of Marion's theme before it like picks back up, right, with the Raiders March at the end. And the reason I went with that piece of music is, I think more than any other piece of music in Raiders or the other Indiana Jones films, to me, that really sells the time period that the movie is set in the 30s, 40s. And the reason is because it's sweeping and romantic, and it reminds me a lot of a scene from Double Indemnity and Miklos Rosa's score, specifically the meeting, which is the scene where it's the beginning of the flashback where Neff is driving up to the house and he meets with Phyllis for the first time. And, the murder can sometimes smell like honeysuckle scene, right? And listening to those two pieces, they both have a lot of that that sweeping. You get the strings, and this is like very romantic piece of music, and the qualities in Marion's theme reminds me a lot of that, and that kind of anchors it to that 1930s, 1940s sound to me. So it just stands out as like, it's such a beautiful piece of music on its own, but it really feels of old Hollywood to me.
What a great choice. It's so like sweepingly romantic.
Exactly.
I love that, and I love that you referenced Double Indemnity, just because now we get to do a Twin Peaks tie-in, which was not on my list of tie-ins, but Twin Peaks has all kinds of name drops from Double Indemnity.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a character called Walter Neff,
Yeah.
who shows up at one point. But yeah, Lynch was riffing on all those great film noirs, so I'm so glad you mentioned that. All righty, my number 3 is also a fairly obvious one, but it is so damn effective I could not have it. The film is Close Encounters, the other 1977 film that John Williams scored, and it is the piece called The Conversation.
Oh my gosh, that was on my list for so long.
If nothing else, I mean, it is absolutely dead on iconic, and it is one of the best uses of a film score to tell the story and not just highlight your emotions you're supposed to be having or play with it. It literally the score at that point, we stop and we're all leaning forward listening, and the score is the story.
I love how like what's going on, but like you don't really.
Right, and it's such a fantastic piece of music. I mean, the whole score to that is fantastic. We, for our listeners who haven't found it yet, we did a Close Encounters standalone episode a couple of seasons ago as part of our sci-fi series. And it's a really good episode, and we talk more about the score there. But I kept thinking, and I kept thinking about it, going, it's so obvious, but it's like the whole movie practically hinges on a piece of music, and that doesn't often happen in film, and I thought that was fantastic. And this is where I get to do a 1-2 punch of both my Disney, and I figured it out, Kate Bush can both come into this now.
Yes.
Yeah. Take a shot, everybody who's listening. Anyway, or two in this case. So the score, Williams wrote the score, of course, but he interpolated little bits of When You Wish Upon a Star from Pinocchio as a little homage, and some of it is quite overt, especially near the end. You can actually kind of almost sing along to it. But he did things with inversions and different harmonic stuff that it's in a lot of the score. So that's your Disney nod, and then also Miss Kate Bush on only her second album, put in a line from When You Wish Upon a Star, which she at that point one still. I think she's done 5 covers in her life. She did an Elton John cover and she did a George Gershwin cover, both for benefits. But she sings a little bit of You Wish Upon a Star in a song she wrote called In Search of Peter Pan, which is not the Pinocchio story, but it fits in beautifully. So there you have it, folks. Kate Bush and, Disney and John Williams.
We've hit the trifecta. We just need Stephen Sondheim.
Checking all the boxes.
It's going to be tough. I don't know if I can
Keep
do
thinking.
this.
You can do it.
I have a great story about that. So I will jump over to another obsession just really fast. So Laurie Anderson, performance artist, who I love tremendously, she tells a story about how when she was in college, she was obsessed with Van Gogh. And so all of her papers and all of her art projects, everything she did was riffing on or about Van Gogh. And finally, her professor has told her that you cannot keep going back to Van Gogh. Like there's other stuff out there. To find something else to say. So for her next thesis that she had to turn in as she was working toward her higher degree, it began, unlike Van Gogh, and then she just went on from there. So that may have to be my Sondheim. It's like, unlike Sondheim, because I think I got nothing. But anyway, all right, let's move along.
Moving right along. My number 3 is my Star Wars entry on the list. And this is not the most specific track, but one of them. From The Empire Strikes Back, it's the asteroid field. From the 2-minute 15-second mark to the 3-minute 23-second mark. Just that part. This is the section where the TIE fighters are chasing the Millennium Falcon through the asteroid field. You've got, the track is much longer because you've got the lead up into the asteroid field and then their escape into the cave. But I mean, my God. How old am I? How many times have I watched Empire Strikes Back? It's my favorite one. And this scene always gives me an adrenaline rush. And you have very little dialogue, expert editing, and, the tensions of the actors. And this piece of music is just perfect. And it stresses me out every time. I'm ducking and, I'm like C-3PO, like, we're going to crash. And the music is
never
a
tell
huge,
me the
huge
odds.
part of that. Yeah, never tell me the odds.
Yeah. I'm so glad you went with that one. That was from Empire, like that was one of the ones that I was looking at, and it's like that's such a classic scene, but also like that music is just—it's so quintessential. Like it's one of those themes from Star Wars, from the pantheon of Star Wars music. It's just like that is a standout piece of music.
Yeah, just the adventure of it, the excitement of it. It's so good. All right. Gosh, we are like almost there. We are down to number 2.
All right, for number 2, I'll take the Clark Kent glasses off. I'll give you the swirl.
Oh boy, look at him go.
And we're sorry, listeners at home, but whatever. We're going back to Superman here, and specifically, we're going with Leaving Home, which is the scene in the movie that is not a commercial for Cheerios, even though that's how it's burned in my brain.
That was like the first product placement I think I remember as a kid.
Okay, in prepping my notes for this, I found an article that somebody wrote where in the movie, you're inside the house, and you can see sunrise on the horizon outside the house. And Ma Kent comes along and sets the Cheerio box down in a frame, and the Cheerio label is facing the camera. And then there's a cut to outside of the house looking in, and we see Ma Kent behind the window, and there's the Cheerio box with the label also facing camera. So it's like the Cheerio label box is like facing in both directions, right? But yeah, in my head, that is like burned into my brain as a commercial for Cheerios.
But it's still damn good music, right?
Yes.
But it's a similar scene, I feel, to the scene in the first Star Wars movie with Luke standing on the edge of the
binary sunset.
With the binary sunset. Yeah, and it's the same kind of feeling of like yearning for something more, looking to the horizon. But whereas that scene ends briefly, right? Where it doesn't play for very long, and because it's like Luke isn't ready to go yet. Whereas Clark in this scene is ready to go. He's made his decision. We've already had the funeral with Pa Kent, and he's been called to venture forth because he's woken up in the middle of the night. He's got that piece of the crystal, the green crystal, right, that he has to take. And it's grand, it's sweeping, it's a little sad because you're saying goodbye, but at the same time, it has so much hope and potential for like what's on the horizon or what's past the horizon. When I think of Superman, beyond just the Superman theme, that's the piece of music that like sticks in my head and like lives in my heart. I mean, Superman, when I was real little, like I had a little Superman outfit and we had this really long hallway and I'd run up and down the hall. It's like Superman like lives inside of me as like part of, my DNA. And that's a piece of music that's part of that.
Oh, that's
Do you
so
still
awesome.
eat Cheerios? I just want to know, do you eat Cheerios still or no? Have you moved along?
I still enjoy some Honey Nut Cheerios. I've never been a fan of plain Cheerios.
No, fair enough. Fair enough.
Plain Cheerios taste like cardboard, but Honey Nut Cheerios.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, the bee knew what was up.
Yeah. He knew what we needed. All right, Robert, you got something sentimental for number 2?
Not probably for anybody but me.
Okay.
No. and I'm leaving the 70s behind and jumping way up to 2009. I know. And this is not on anybody else's list, I can guarantee it. So this is from PBS, the Great Performances theme song. It's a little 3-minute piece of music. I love it so much. It does create almost an emotional feeling in me because watching great performances, it's always like, I don't call it that anymore, it was streaming, but it was like appointment TV. Because I was going to get to see some amazing Broadway show or opera or ballet or something that was just really, really special and probably not something I was going to get to be able to see in person. And what I love about the theme song, which weirdly, when I was doing my homework, I realized listening to it, I've never heard it without the little man saying, and brought to you by donors like yours, the little, he talks about, and introduces what it is. I was like, oh, it's just, there's no man. But anyway, it's great because it starts off and it's kind of jaunty and anticipatory, and it's this little jangly piano that just exactly matches my feeling when I would be ready for those shows. Because it was like I had taken the night off of work and I had made my popcorn and I was ready to just immerse myself in whatever great performances was going to offer me that night. And his music is just so lively and so it just captures that excitement so beautifully in just like a little 3-minute piece of music. That is my number 2.
I somehow in my research like completely missed that he wrote that.
Well, and Stephen, when I mentioned it, was like started doing the Great Performances theme song, and then he was doing Alistair Cookie from Sesame Street.
Yes, like, Monster Theater.
Yeah, I was like that's the other PBS thing, and he didn't write that. Some French dude wrote that in the 17th century, But no. And then I played it, and Stephen said, "Oh, that's the irritating one." And yeah, I can see how you say that. It is not as beautiful and sweeping as some of his other scores we've been talking about, but it captures the mood for me. That was my number 2.
Oh, excellent choice. Yes. All right. Well, my number 2 is the shortest section. You thought the last one was short. This one is even shorter. From the movie Jaws, it's Man Against Beast, but it's only from 3 minutes to 3 minutes 50 seconds. It's just that fast. This is one of the expert storytelling composition pieces. This is the first hunt of the shark. The whole track is awesome. It's begins with the fear and excitement and adrenaline of the crew's first time seeing the shark. People have been attacked. All this stuff has been going on. We've been talking about a shark for like an hour and a half. And this is their first time where they actually see it. And all of that lead up is great. But this section just gets me every time. It's from, and it's so like Steven Spielberg is such a visual genius. You get this great close up of the empty lobster clasp on the barrel where Hooper was supposed to have tied the line off, and he hasn't yet because he's getting a tracker to put on the barrel so they can track the shark. And Hooper has to, and Quint is yelling for him. Hooper has to run up on deck. He slides into frame. He starts frantically tying, this tracker and the line on. And, Brody doesn't know what's going on. And he's just screaming, like, kill it, kill it. And, like, every time, again, I've seen this movie a million times. And I get goosebumps. I get adrenaline. Like, it's just an absolute perfect section of movie.
I don't remember that musical cue. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch and listen for that.
Oh, yes. Like,
No, it's a great choice because it's such an intense scene, and it's the combination of the editing and like what's
Yes.
included in frame and what's not included to like communicate like because you have those tight shots of like their boat, their shoes on the edge of the boat as they're like
Yes.
walking around the cockpit, and it's probably the wrong term, but I'm not a boat person, so you can correct me in the comments, but I'm not going to read them.
It's fine.
And then you've got like, the anxiety of like, is he going to get the thing tied off in time before they can like shoot another barrel or not? And it's such that was one other one that I was tempted to put on my list as well, because it's such it's like the your choice for the asteroid field chase, right? Like it's a tight little piece of music, but it's incredibly intense.
Yes. Yes. And so much like Jaws is a movie. It'll be on and I'm like cooking dinner or whatever, like, because we just watch it a lot. And I will stop what I'm doing and come in to watch that scene because I just love it. And when I told Liam that we were doing this episode, I said, what do you think's on my list? And he had my top 3.
Nice.
He had the asteroid field, he had this one, and then he had my number 1 because he just knows.
You raised him right. Yeah.
Well, or just annoyed him with how much I go on and on and on about them. All right, boys, now is the time when we're going to take a little pause for some honorable mentions. David, was there anything that just broke your heart to leave off the list and you want to give it a shout out anyway, or were you pretty happy with the list you came up with?
No, I got a few. I got a few honorable mentions. Okay, and I'm really going to keep this pared down because we could like start listing entire soundtracks at this
My
point.
God, yes.
My wife would probably kill me if I didn't mention anything from Harry Potter. So I'm going to pick the Hedwig's theme, which is
yes.
It's the music that I think of the most when I think of Harry Potter. And I think there's I want to say that there's a piece of the beginning of the third movie that has it that is just like that's what I think of when I think of Harry Potter, right?
Well, that was like the first thing we were introduced to with the movie was that those first few notes.
Exactly.
And then Uncle Vernon saying there's no such thing as magic. Like that was the trailer.
Right.
Yeah.
And then my other two are some source music that he composed. One is from Superman. It's Luther's Luau. So this is the music that plays in the abandoned subway station that Luther has turned into his palatial. You have
Park Avenue address.
Park Avenue address. 10 floors below Park Avenue. And Otis is getting his drink and running out to him, bringing his bathrobe and dragging it through the water. And then my other piece of source music is from Return of the Jedi, and it is the original Jabba's band music, Max Rebo's Lop-T Neck.
Thank you.
None of this Jedi Rock special edition crap. You can at me in the comments. I don't care. But the original Lop-T Neck is
forever.
Fantastic.
I knew we were going to be besties. I just knew it. All right, Robert, how about you? Anything that you had to leave off?
A couple, although I'm still stuck on the Harry Potter. Yeah, that is such a great piece of music.
Hmm.
Sarah has good taste. All right, so yeah, my runner-ups, we were told from the get-go we were not allowed to use any of the main theme songs because they're so well known and all that. But see, I think I have to mention them. So this is my cheat. My cheat.
Nice.
Yeah, justify. Because I think what I love about the John Williams theme songs is that everybody knows them. And part of the reason that I think everybody knows them is that you can sing to all of them. Like there are
Yes.
Yep.
like pop culture lyrics for all of them. I mean, Bill Murray, of course, famously did that the lounge, Star Wars thing. But like Indiana Jones March has lyrics, and the Superman theme has lyrics. Like I know those. I know those pretty well. I know Jaws does as well, but I could not remember what they were. But there's something that's about a great theme song that you can like sing along to, words that are not actually printed or heard in the film, but they just fit so beautifully. So here's for the theme songs that you can sing along to, because I
And
just
they're identifiable from like one note. I mean, how many times
Hmm.
when you're at like a concert or something and you just hear like the first trumpet, right? And they're like,
yeah.
oh, you just know what it is. And then they like cheer erupts through the crowd.
Yeah, I get such a kick out of that. But yeah, I anytime I hear those, I'm always singing along with the dumb pop culture words that somehow emerged organically and have become part of the culture.
That's awesome. All right. Well, I just have three. I'll try to keep it short. The first one is from The Force Awakens. The track is called The Scavenger. And if you have noticed, I like when he's like light and whimsical and character introductions. Like I love that. And this is when we meet Rey, and there's no dialogue. She's just doing her thing, scavenging out of a crashed Star Destroyer, and she goes to her little hut and she makes her dinner and she puts on her little blaster helmet, and like everything you need to know about her, with this music playing along. So I love that. My next one is from Home Alone. It's the track called Setting the Trap. And I remember it was a very significant Christmas when I saw this movie. And I remember coming home and telling my mom, like, shot for shot, like the entire movie. And the one visual that stuck out to me is after Kevin goes to church on Christmas Eve, he's running home and he has to get home and get set up before the burglars try to break in. And as he's running home, the Christmas lights are on timers and the Christmas lights pop on to the music as he's running home. And I love that scene. And then I love the scene with him. I don't like the part where he sets off the traps and everybody's like getting hurt, but I love when he's setting up the traps. I think that's very clever and very cute. And then the last one, of course, I had to mention Superman. Um, it's the Fortress of Solitude, beginning at 4 minutes 30 seconds. Um, this is, I almost can't talk about it because I love this scene so much and I get choked up every time. But it's the scene where Clark is learning from the hologram of Jor-El who he is and where he came from. And Marlon Brando just has the greatest monologue, and this beautiful music playing underneath it just absolutely, they mesh together so perfectly. So those are my three that, oh God, it hurt to have to cut them, but I made the
And
tough
that's the scene that
choice.
like we go off on this like adventure through space and then we come back and then it's Superman standing there and he takes off and flies out of frame and it's like he's there, he's Superman now. Yeah. No,
Yep.
I'm right there with you.
100%. All right. Now it is time. The big moment is here. David, what is your number one?
So for number one on my list, we're going back to a galaxy far, far away from Empire Strikes Back, Yoda and the Force. And so this is
Good one.
This is the scene where, it's the Luca Yoda training scene and, the X-Wing starts to sink and Luke tries to use the Force, but he just can't. And then Yoda's like shows him how it's done and pulls it out. And then Luke has the "I don't believe it," and Yoda's line, "That is why you failed." And it's just, I think for me, going back to something we talked about earlier, is it communicates wonder so well, because we're seeing this fantastical thing happen, and we're seeing it through Luke's eyes, obviously, but it's that feeling of just being completely mesmerized by something out of the norm, out of any frame of reference that you have, right? And yet it's real. It's happening in front of your eyes. And I think, obviously there's tons of tracks that are classic Star Wars pieces, but I think for me personally, when I think of what Star Wars means to me, I think of that piece of music and that scene, because it's about believing in something, believing in yourself, in something maybe bigger than yourself, but having the strength of your convictions to overcome what seems like an insurmountable challenge. And like that to me is like this core nugget of like the message of Star Wars, and that music says that.
Oh, so perfect. And the possibility, this is really the first time that we see what the Force can do.
Right. Yeah, we've seen like parlor tricks, but that's like a big statement, right?
Well, and all you've seen is this little Muppet, like he can't even walk. He's got a cane, like Luke's carrying him around in the backpack. Like, he's not, at least Obi-Wan, you got to see him fight with a lightsaber and stuff. Like, so
well, give it time. Give it time. We will see Yoda fight with a lightsaber.
Yes. Well, I don't think you should have ever had one, but that's a whole different argument. But I agree. Like, this is one of those scenes that it just sticks with you and defines what Star Wars is. What a great, great choice for your number one.
Thanks.
All right, Robert, what you got?
My number one stays in Star Wars land. Imagine that.
Oh my gosh, too.
I know. Well, and this is a little bit of a not a cheat, but it's number one because I was doing them chronologically. It's not my favorite of the pieces, but it is the most recent. And John Williams did get his 25th Grammy Award for it. Who's counting? And it was the first ever piece of music that was written for a theme park that won a Grammy. So I guess I do get to name drop Disney one more time.
Nice.
Galaxy's Edge, a symphonic suite. What a fantastic piece of music. What I love about this piece of music, now, unlike yourselves, you'll notice as much as I like to talk, I did not chime in a lot tonight. I am not the world's biggest Star Wars fan. I loved them. I saw them. They were fun. They did not resonate with me like they did with some people. Although, David, you probably haven't heard these stories, but when we go to Disney World, Stephen gets mistaken for George Lucas a lot. Two hilarious.
Oh, I bet.
To hilarious results where people queue up for autographs and stuff. But no. So the first
please
time
tell me he just signs things as George now.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, actually,
yes.
He does Jorge. No, just
as well. He should.
Yeah, but and of course then he had to ask me the first time, how do I spell Jorge? And I said correctly, not unlike yourself. But anyway, it got to where at one point we had to like eject because he was getting mobbed. It was really awful. But anyway, so this also is sentimental for me in a way because it reminds me of our Disney World trips. But I'm not a giant Star Wars fan, but I'm a big Disney fan. And so when we saw it at Disney World first, but when we went to Disney World and were able to see Galaxy's Edge, one thing I loved about it from first visit, I loved the entire experience, but I loved the music because, first of all, how often does a theme park tunnel get, its own soundtrack? But and it's great music, but they did not just do this like potpourri of all the good tunes or a medley of the themes you all know and love, which seems like it would be the obvious choice. But Batuu is a new part of Star Wars lore. It wasn't from the movies. It wasn't, there are elements of the film storylines that you can experience at Galaxy's Edge, but it is not from a film. So I love that he wrote new music that if you stop and hear it, most people are just like zipping along as fast as they can, waving their fast pass, trying to get to, Rise of the Resistance. But it is great music. And at one point, about a minute in, there's a little tiny hint of the Rebels theme in the brass. And then about a minute and a half or so later, you get this great little section that kind of is reminiscent of something else. But it's this freestanding piece of music that tees you up that this is, this world, because the music is his music. It's familiar, but it's not a piece of music you've heard. So you get that, like, okay, I get the world I'm going to be going into, but I'm not going to just be jumping into Ewok Village or a place we've seen before. And so I think it's a standout piece of music, and obviously the Grammy voters must have too, because it really just elevates that entire experience. And it makes me sad that so many people just bustle through and don't slow down and listen to it. I'm like, it's John Williams' original music, people. You love him. But that was my number one.
Oh, so fantastic. Great choice.
I thought you might like that. I was afraid
it's-
you might pick it, in fact.
Well, and that was one of the things that I knew, because you went to Galaxy's Edge before I did. And the minute you came back and were talking about it, I was like, well, I'm just going to never want to leave. Because, like you said, you're not really the Star Wars guy. And the immersiveness of that land and the music and the world building, like, you were 100% in. Like,
we were going to dip in and dip out and go back over to the Brown Derby and have more cocktails, and I think we were there for like 4 hours, and I was like activating droids and translating things on the wall and doing missions, and like I said, this is not my normal venue, but I was just like, this is so awesome. And of course, it's kind of a sidebar, it made me really sad how many deep dive Star Wars fans kind of rejected it, because it was not like you get to be Han Solo and there's Leia walking by and you get to relive this scene. I thought it was smart and kind of fun that it was in the world you knew, but it was your adventure. It wasn't you just reliving somebody else's. But it did not land very well with the guests. And of course, we won't even talk about the tragic hotel, but and all that misery. But anyway, although from it, my friend Graham is now Star Wars canon, so that's kind of fun. But
Nice.
Yeah, so that's awesome. But anyway, that was my number one.
all right. Well, my number one sort of blends together the wonder, the adrenaline, the storytelling in one perfect scene in a perfect movie. I have like a list that I'll probably do for our YouTube channel at some point of like what I consider to be perfect movies. And Raiders of the Lost Ark to me is an example of a perfect movie. And the map room at dawn is the track, and the map room scene, like, I watched the whole movie just for that scene. I absolutely love it. This scene is Indy has to sneak in and use the medallion to capture the sun, to put a beam of light down on a map on the floor to tell him where the Ark is, to tell him where to dig. And half the scene is Harrison Ford just standing there, waiting for the sun to rise and come through at just the right point to hit the medallion. And Indy is a skeptic. Indy does not believe in a lot of hocus pocus mumbo jumbo. He is a scientist. He's an archaeologist. So the expression on his face is like, half of him's like, this is bullshit and nothing's going to happen. And the other half is like really excited for it to happen and to see what's going to happen. There's no dialogue. And you get to see Indy be like the scholar instead of the adventurer. And it's absolutely adventure, scholar, wonder. He sees that there's, more things than he ever dreamt of in his philosophy. And it's absolutely, I just can't go on and on about this scene enough. And the music, the whole track is just perfect.
Great choice. fantastic.
I'm just stunned that you got through the episode and didn't cry.
It was close talking about the Fortress of Solitude. If I had tried to quote Jor-El, I probably would have started crying. But
for David and the new listeners, or anybody who's coming to us for the first, I will name drop as you've heard, and Amber inevitably will get emotional about some piece of something that we're talking about, and I feel a little swindled that we did not get that. Can we like talk about the Fortress of Solitude a little more, just to get one little?
The Son becomes the Father, and the Father the Son.
No, it's when he said, here we go. It's when he says they can be a great people, Kal-El. They wish to be. They only lack the leg to show the way. And
there you have it. You're welcome. You're welcome, everybody.
Oh, you're such a bully, making me cry. I can't help it. If you can't tell, I'm enthusiastic about these things. These are important things.
Yes.
All right. I can't believe that is our top 7 John Williams scores. No overlaps. Some overlapping movies, but no overlapping tracks.
Our Olympic theme.
Yeah, your Olympic. That's right. We did have one. I'd like to thank David for braving our craziness. You were a super fun addition to the program, so thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, guys.
And Robert, as always, it was a pleasure, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much. I feel like I was kind of the weakest link in John Williams land, but I enjoyed it tremendously.
No, never. And we'd also like to thank our listeners for joining us on this musical journey. I'd like to add that if you enjoyed this episode and are interested in learning more about John Williams, there is a great documentary on Disney Plus called, appropriately enough, Music by John Williams. And it is definitely worth your time. Did your favorite pieces make our lists? Tell us what you thought of our choices and share your own top 7 lists on our social media pages. We can be found on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Facebook. Please also check out our Patreon for exclusive content and our YouTube channel for more Top 7 fun. Our upcoming episodes for December, Top 7 month, continues with Top 7 good songs ruined by radio and MTV, Top 7 songs of your own soundtrack, and Top 7 films of the 2000s. And until next time, watch more movies, listen to more music, and remember, physical media is always better than streaming.
The Docking Bay 77 podcast is produced and edited by Dayton Johnson, recorded with Rode Pod mics, the Zoom PodTrack P4, and edited on Audacity. Opening music provided by Eric Jason Brock. You can find him on YouTube and Bandcamp. Thank you for listening.